chat. We are going to pick up where we have left off 2 weeks ago, where we're talking about all around this word of being remarkable. And there's just something about that word that pulls me in. I don't know if it's just me, but I would love nothing better than for someone to say that I'm remarkable, because being remarkable means that, to me, also goes along with being intentional. And I want to be a better person, a better wife, a better mother, a better business owner, a better friend, a better daughter. I want to be better in 2023 than I was in 2022. And in order to do that, I've got to roll up my sleeves and dig in and say, how do I become remarkable, especially in this area of our business? And let me, shoot, I hate it when it does this. Okay, let me get back to here, escape. There we go. All right, so we're gonna pick back up where we left off in this whole area of being remarkable. And here we go. Okay, so back to this definition. RE is a prefix with the meaning again, or to go back, and it indicates repetition. And I know you guys get sick of me giving the basics all the time, going back over the basics, but really that's how we get better. That's how we become remarkable. Last time we were together, week before last, we talked about re-engaging with our why. And we just finished up the leadership chat, and we started sharing our whys with each other. It changes. That's why we got to go back and redo, rethink. You know, I love Sandy Thompson. She used several of those words: restore, reflect, going back. And so if you don't have a written down why are you doing this business? I want to challenge you guys to go back and do that this week. It is going to make you more powerful, more attractive, and more energized to start this new year. So we talked about re-engage with our why last week, and I'd love for you to send it to me. If you write it down, send it to your upline, send it to me, send it to Brenda, whoever. But just, that's some homework. If you haven't done that, that's some homework. Today we're going to talk about, though, is this whole reframing our thinking. And I'm going to kind of go through my thoughts, but as I'm going through, I want you to grab a piece of paper and I want you to maybe answer some of these questions, because then we're going to kind of stop it, and then I'm going to ask, and I want to hear from you guys. So a lot of times when I get off track in business or in life, it's because of what I'm thinking and how I'm thinking. And if we don't catch ourselves, we go down a path that's not healthy. And I know I'm guilty of it. My guess is we're all guilty of it. So let's start by identifying maybe some of those. Oops, we already talked about re-engaging your why. So I forgot to advance the slide. So be sure and do that this week. But let's today talk about, how do we reframe our thinking? So first and foremost, identify the challenge. So what is that thinking? I don't know who coined it, but I love that term, stinking thinking. Identify the stinking thinking. Anybody willing or vulnerable enough to say, okay, in my Juice Plus world, here's the stinking thinking that kind of creeps in from time to time. Anybody willing to be authentic and share, here's some stinking thinking that I'm dealing with? Anybody? Just shout it out. I can't see everybody now that I've got the slide up. All right, let me throw out some stinking thinking. This is some stinking thinking that I get going on. Have I reached my peak in this business? Is this do I really have the skills and ability to take it to a whole nother level? I begin doubting myself sometimes. Anybody else have that stinking thinking going on? Or am I the only one?
I think I have that. I feel like sometimes I'm not the best leader. I feel like I'm not the best customer care representative. I feel like my time sometimes is overwhelming. That, you know, I just really need to focus. That's my word for the year, and do better in all of this. And there are times I feel overwhelmed, and I feel like I failed for the day, you know, so that's mine.
Okay, thank you for sharing. All right, who else? What's some stinking thinking? So Jelaine and I've just shared ours. Who else? I guess it's just me and you, Jelaine. Okay, I see Ann and Cynthia. Ann, let's hear your stinking thinking.
My stinking thinking is, how the heck am I going to get to NMD this year? Instead of
I
just
love it.
rolling up my sleeves, and if a person cancels, I'm going to replace them with somebody else and just forge ahead. But let me tell you something, you got to pull up those big girl panties and make it happen.
Yep, yep. Okay, so yours is kind of like mine. You've got a goal. Can I get there? So sometimes it's kind of second guessing ourselves. Do I have what it takes to get to where I want to go? Cynthia, what's your stinking thinking?
It's pretty much on the same level, not thinking for the person that I'm talking to, not making them, I'm trying to think of the best phrase. I don't want to be the reason why they accept or don't accept. So I want to be the voice that says, this is a good product. I don't want to be the voice that says, it's a good product, however. So I'm just in that process right now.
So if I'm hearing you, it's kind of like you're in your own head when you're talking to someone, worrying about almost putting it on you whether or not they buy Juice Plus versus just being in the moment with them and totally focusing on them. Did I hear that right?
Somewhat, yes, because I think that after a certain conversation, I don't want to sound as if I'm not promoting Juice Plus. When someone is sharing their health journey, I always want to be the voice that says, well, this is how it's benefited me, but I don't want it to come across as if this is a sales pitch. So
Gotcha. Okay. All right, everybody, I want you to jot down that challenge, that thinking that needs to be reframed. Everybody put it either in the chat or on a piece of paper, and we're going to circle back around. So that sometimes that reframing has to do with just one, really identifying what the stinking thinking is that needs to be reframed. Because if we're not aware of it, then it goes on and continues. And so I think identifying it is huge. The next thing I want to think about is a lot of times this reframing our thinking sometimes boils down to it's as simple as we just don't believe in ourselves. Anybody else feel like maybe that reframing that thinking is just because, hey, maybe I don't believe in myself enough? That may be part of it. Another one, as I was kind of just researching, delving into this whole reframing our thinking, another time, and I can catch myself doing this too, is I get an excuse in my head. Oh, I wanted to do this. I wanted to get here. I wanted to get there. You know, there are certain things I wanted to accomplish or achieve in this business, but I might have grabbed onto an excuse that I just keep hanging on to. Well, here's why I didn't do it, because of this. Anybody else experience that? You know, the excuse that you go to when, and it almost, I begin using it as a crutch and almost allowing myself not to go for it because of this excuse that's maybe rolling around in the back of my head. Anybody else? Nadia, does that sound, can you resonate with that?
Sorry, I just had to bring my hand back down again. Yeah, so it does. And I just actually had a, similar few weeks over the holidays, maybe something to do with, winter, even in Florida, that I was questioning myself whether I'm actually even in the right industry, to be honest with you. And my thinking that's making me ask this is because we've already set up a very successful business in the past in real estate. So I don't have any doubts about becoming successful, but now you're working with other people, which puts a whole different layer to it. And I'm sitting here sometimes thinking to myself, how can they not see this great opportunity? And should I just go back to doing my own thing and everybody can take care of themselves? So that was my thought process the last few weeks. And then my husband actually swooped in, which totally surprised me. And he basically told me to get back on track and stop it. I mean,
I love it.
thinking about it. He's like, what are you talking about? So that took me a little bit by surprise to get such strong pushback from him for just packing it in.
You know what, Nadia, it brings back a memory to me in that when I first just got started in this business, I had like some of our absolute dearest friends. I was talking to the wife, Sharon Juice Plus. She was all excited. She's very health conscious. The husband actually called me and said, I don't want you talking to my wife about that. These are dear friends. And I don't want you talking to her about Juice Plus. We don't want it. I don't believe in it. It's a, pyramid scheme, blah, blah, blah. I remember, and at that conversation, he was a good enough friend that I just said, this is, I believe 100% in it. I'm sorry, you don't see it. It's who I am. And kind of take me or leave me. I won't talk to your wife, but before you go making judgment on what Juice Plus is or isn't, you need to at least do your research because you haven't done that yet. So I kind of went back to him. We have that kind of a friendship that we could, he accepted. I thought if you're bold enough to say it, you're bold enough to accept what I say back. But I got off that phone and I just felt like I melted into a puddle. And I remember telling my husband, and he looked at me and he said, are you seriously going to let so-and-so rob you of your dream? This is what you were called to do. And I love, Nadia, that your husband gave you the nudge, and my husband gave me a huge nudge, gave me a kick in the pants and said, come on, get up. You can't let that stop you. And man, am I glad he did that. So maybe sometimes we need to make sure we have a spouse or a friend or a partner in this business that will not let us quit. How many times in 23 years have I thought, I can't do this? Or whatever happened that it makes you want to quit. I'm here to say that's normal. That we're not in an easy industry. It's simple. All we have to do is share an amazing product, but it's not always easy. And so know that Nadia's, I call them come to Jesus meetings, sometimes happens. That's okay. And don't beat yourself up over it. That's in those times we either need to, and hopefully some of these will give us some ideas on how to reframe that thinking, or thank goodness we've got somebody in our life that'll help us jar us back into thinking correctly again. So the next one, as we said, sometimes we need to release those excuses and go back and say, okay, is there some excuses that I need to let go of? Another one is sometimes the complaining. Sometimes we're complaining in our heads, and what does that do? It gets us going down the wrong track. You ever been around? my Apple Watch is talking to me here. Have you ever been around somebody who is just a natural complainer, and by the time you walk away from them, you're in the mud puddle with them? It's almost like I've got to kind of identify those people. So when I go in, I go in and say, I'm going to see if I can get them on a positive note. And my whole focus is to get them away from complaining, because if I don't, then I'm going to walk away in in not a good place. So maybe sometimes it might be in our own head, that complaining of, well, that was hard, or that's difficult, or that shouldn't have happened, or they shouldn't have done that. That just gets us going down. And that's what we want to do. And I'm speaking for myself here too, is be really quick to realize when I need to reframe my thinking, because I want people, when they're around me, I want them walking away on cloud 9, or feeling like, man, okay, that I'm helping people, their mental thought process is going positive, not negative. And if that's the case, then I have to be doing that in my own head. The next thing, when talking about reframing our thinking, sometimes change will quickly take us down. Anybody kind of have a hard time when things change? Going negative. What if we just embrace change when it's coming, like bring it on? And you know why? Is change brings momentum. So instead of, oh my gosh, I don't like the new bottles, or I don't like this, or I don't like that, any change that Juice Plus makes, what if we run forward and just embrace it? Because change brings about momentum. What about giving up and kind of going back? Thank you, Nadia, for sharing. There are going to be times when we're going to say, this is too hard. It's simple, but it's really hard. Is just saying, you know what? I'm not even going to let that thought go in my mind. I've been called to do this. I have a passion for it. And the minute that thought comes into my mind, I'm not going to allow it to happen. What if I'm going to choose to be optimistic? Yeah, you know what? One of my daughters is extremely optimistic, and we've talked about this. She said, Mom, every time I call you, she's in real estate, and every time she calls me with a big potential sale, I celebrate, I get excited. And then she's had some pretty big sales get jerked out from under. She goes, I love the fact that you celebrate with me, even though there's a potential it gets jerked away from me. And I thought, but yeah, we have a reason to celebrate today, though. So what if we choose to be optimistic every day? How would that influence our thinking? How would that influence the people we're talking to? If I'm going to join someone's business or be excited about someone's product, I guarantee you they're going to have to be optimistic. And if we're not optimistic, it's going to be hard to attract people. So let's reframe our thinking. And the minute we're kind of getting into that glass is half full, stop ourselves. It's optimism that attracts people, not pessimistic thoughts and comments. And then that next thing there, and what I did was I just went out and researched, how do you reframe your thinking when it's not good? And I just kind of started pulling from all these different sources. The next one was to immediately interrupt those negative thoughts. And how do we interrupt negative thoughts? It's almost like, I think sometimes we've got to physically do something. You used to be, you'd tie a string around your finger to remember something. What is some physical way you could implement that will interrupt a negative thought? What is something you could do? Do you need a sticky note? Do you need it as one of your focus that goals that maybe you read daily or weekly? So we're going to stop here in a minute. So I'm going to hear back from you guys from some of this. So be writing this stuff down. What's a physical thing you could do to interrupt a negative thought that gets you back on track before you get down the rabbit hole? Another way, well, here's a great answer for you. I kind of answered my question, but one of the things it talks about is having affirmations. And I remember my husband, this is one of the things that attracted me to him. I remember jumping in his car when we were in college together. And I remember he'd say, how's your day going? And I remember him, he'd always sit the back of the seat behind me and say, I feel good, I feel great. I love that about him, that positive. And it was because he really did focus on some affirmations. All right, I'm gonna mention these last two, and then I'm gonna go to Nadia and Ann who have their hands up. The next thing is seeking encouragement. You guys, one of the things I have to say about Brenda Proctor, why she is one of my absolute best friends, she is the most encouraging person there is. And I love that about her. I mean, imagine if someone said, you're one of the most encouraging people I know. Isn't that a beautiful thing to be said? So find those people in your life who can give that. My husband is a huge encourager. And it makes me want to be more of that because I'm surrounded by some really good encouragers in my life. Seek those kind of people out that can continue to encourage you on this journey. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is Wendy Campbell created this thing about 100 reasons why I do this Juice Plus business. And she talks about pulling that out. And when this stinking thinking comes in, pull that journal out and read through all the reasons why, the positive reasons why you do this business. And I start out by naming, I've done this before and I'm going to do it again this week. I start naming all my customers and the impact, and then my partners on my team, the impact that Juice Plus has had on them. You know, I look at my two daughters who have done exceptionally well, you know, graduating from college and moving into their fields of interest and employment. And I believe that being in this Juice Plus business, they saw their mom work and be able to be at home with them, but also be able to work. I think about the income that it's brought in and what I've been able to do, extra things. Think through all the positive things that this Juice Plus, I loved earlier, Jelaine was sharing the impact on their health and that she could that would never not be her why. There's a double negative there, but because of the health that they've experienced because of Juice Plus. So maybe that's going to be our homework for this week, is all of us try to at least write 25 reasons, journal 25 reasons why you're in this business. And maybe it's nothing but customers' names or partners' names and the impact that Juice Plus has helped. You talk about reframing your thinking, you're going to want to jump up out of that chair and get out there running and telling as many people as you can about Juice Plus. Why? Because our business makes a difference. Right now, I'm thinking of a partner who I remembered at one time, her husband was out of job for 5 years. I remember her saying, Elaine, our mortgage payment never was missed, even though he was out of a job, because our Juice Plus check paid for it every single month. That happened 10 years ago. But as I was sitting here thinking about positive things, that's going to be one of my lists, that I have an opportunity to share an incredible business that not only changes people's health, but it can change their wealth as well. I think about this Juice Plus income. For 10 years straight, someone in our family went to a village in Adachar, Uganda, and I'm going to start crying. And we've poured a lot of money into a village in Adachar, Uganda to make a difference in the lives of people who live in huts and don't have running water. But this business provided an income stream so that we could be generous. What is it? And you know what? We forget about the benefits. So our homework, at least 25 reasons. Hopefully you can get up to 100 of why this business matters and means so much. So that every time we start getting the stinking thinking, we pull out that sheet. This is why I'm doing this business, because I'm leaving a legacy. I loved Brenda's early talked about wanting to pass down this business to her son. I'm leaving a legacy. I'm making a difference in the world I'm living in the sphere. Precious was talking about changing her sphere of influence and in some thoughts that aren't true, aren't good. Just because thoughts have been around a long time doesn't always mean they're good. Doesn't always mean there's truth in them. I love my daughter. One of my daughters she's studying to be a counselor. And she said, as long as there's parents, there's always going to be counselors needed. We screw our kids up sometimes, not intentionally, but because our parents have screwed us up. I have great parents, but they aren't perfect. We're human. I don't need to get off on that rabbit trail, but let's journal. Let's do homework and journal why we're doing this business. And so that when we need to reframe our thinking, we can pull out that paper and start reading and be grateful for this amazing opportunity God's given us. Okay, I'm going to shut up and let's hear from you guys. Thoughts, comments on let's start with Ann. Ann, reframing that negative thinking. Are you there, Ann? All right, I'm going to jump to Nadia then. Nadia, let's hear your thoughts.
Sorry.
And you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I couldn't get my phone to unmute. Real quick, I'll be short. So for me, Elaine, you struck a chord when you said he hits the seat, because I teach about the senses and how the senses actually help us in our business and personal lives. So when you hit something, it's a physical. So it takes your mind out of the mindset that it's in at the time and it transfers you. However, you need a visualization of something to replace that negative or glass half empty mentality. So if you can come up with something really positive in your life, having a child, what that was like, what it smelled like, holding the baby, those kind of things, that takes you to a new vibration, a new element of, wow, I don't like the way I felt. This replaces that, and it's this overwhelming sense of joy and happiness. So it takes at least 2 weeks of continually doing that. So it is a constant, you've got to keep doing it. The second you have that negative glass half empty mentality, to switch it to the positive mindset to start to change your life, you have to do it on a regular basis.
I love that. So the more senses in that physical, whatever
Yes.
it takes to get us out, the more the senses we use, the more we're going to remember it. Love it.
Yeah,
Love that.
essential oils are good for that also.
All right, Nadia.
So what I decided to do for 2023 was also to change my environment in terms of who I interact with. And the last 3 years since the beginning, challenging for most of us. And so what started happening was that I don't have a television, but I'm, up to speed with everything that's going on. But I started having a group of people that I met through social media who were just sending on information. And I decided I don't want to hear it anymore. I've kind of like dug into it and researched and did this and that for 2 years, and I need a clean slate. I don't want to hear it anymore. If that means I'm an ostrich, then so be it, for my own mental sanity.
Mm.
And so what I started going back to is I listen to really uplifting stuff. You can find a lot on YouTube. Names escape me now, but there's so much on YouTube that is so inspiring. I found a really good Clubhouse room that is very meditative every single morning, very uplifting as well. So that's how I'm starting my day now. In the morning, I'm listening to that, and I'm setting the tone for the rest of the day. And just really shifting away from all this negativity that's surrounding us. And it's very, very difficult to unplug yourself because you're constantly being confronted with it, especially if you're working on social media. But I'm getting there. And I told people who kept sending me stuff, I said, you know what, please don't take it personally. I just don't want to hear it anymore. It's not healthy for me anymore. So stop. And that's what I did for myself, made a conscious decision to really put a complete stop to it.
Love it. Thank you, Nadia, for sharing. Yeah, sometimes, like you said, we've got to, take charge of protecting our mental thinking. So love that.
So one of the things that years ago that has meant the most to me about stinking thinking, for years and years, I listened to Joyce Myers, and I don't know if you know her, but she had a very, very horrible upbringing and was very, and when she was first raising her kids, she could be really harsh, and she was asking the Lord, what do I do about that? And he immediately said, she said, well, I realized that if I was in the middle of screaming at my kids, just having a fit, and the doorbell rang and it was her pastor, she would immediately go, well, Pastor, hi, excuse me, come on in. It's so lovely to see you. So we can't think about two things at the same time. We can decide, we can make a decision, no, I'm stopping it right now. And just imagine someone coming to the door that you wouldn't want to see, acting like that. So that that has really helped me in terms of stinking thinking.
Love that. Again, that visualization. Who else? Anybody else want to kind of share stinking thinking and how you're working through it? Anybody on here done the 100, journaling of why you're in this business? Anybody ever done that before?
It's when we first started.
Yeah. All right. That's going to be our homework. All right. Anybody else? Thoughts, comments? Jelaine, do you have your hand up? Or was
Yes.
that? Okay.
So this is what I would have to say to everyone, is that everyone on this call and in our group and everything, every one of you is precious and all very gifted in what you've been called to do. And never think that you're not. Don't think, oh, I don't have a business degree, I can't do this, I'm not suited for this. We've all been given a precious gift of this business, and we are all equipped to do it, or we wouldn't have been given it. And each one of us, no matter what situation we're in or where we are, we have a gift to give to everybody else. Like my husband and I, we have a lot of challenges medically, and we're in a lot of places, hospitals, but you know what? We have a gift to change the hospital setting. We can talk to nurses who are exhausted. It's been given us this challenge, and this is our calling. So each one of you have a calling. Look at where you are, look at what you've been called to, and know that no matter what it is, it's a calling and you can be successful at it.
Thank you, Jelaine. Words of encouragement right there. All right. Anne, is your hand still up, or do you have a little more you want to share?
No, I forgot to take it down. Sorry.
Okay. All right. All right, you guys, anybody else want to just thank you guys, those of you who've shared your thoughts and be willing to kind of share your challenges. Anybody else want to have anything they want to share before we wrap it up? Precious.
Yeah, so real fast, one of the most grateful people that I know is my husband. And the one thing that he says on a regular basis, like when people ask him, how is he doing? He say, it's a great day to be alive. And so I think of it like that, like that's the most smallest thing you can think about, but I'm grateful to just be here. You know, I'm grateful to be alive and well. I'm grateful to be able to take my kids to school in the morning and be able to stay at school. You know, I'm grateful to be able to go on vacation. So when I think about being in a negative mindset, I can switch it right away and just go opposite because I have so many things to be grateful for. So that's what I leave you with. Think about what you got that you're grateful for, because it could be something very, very small, but someone else probably don't even have it. You know, so we think about how bad our lives may be, but there's always somebody doing worse, you know, than you are. And you're always able to give back to people, even with the little bit of stuff that you have. Just giving someone a smile, a compliment, you know, telling someone to have a great day. Just be grateful for life, because some people don't have it anymore.
Yeah. I don't need to say anymore. That sums it up perfectly, Precious. So thank you. Thank you guys for being on here. Do the homework of writing down. Try to get 25 to 100. It's somewhere in that range of why you're grateful for this business and the impact it's had on you. That acts of gratitude, and we'll circle around next week and pick up from here, just talking about becoming remarkable and what that looks like. We'll get into a little more of the nitty-gritty next week, but thanks for being on here, you guys. I appreciate each and every one of you. I really do. So grateful. Bye, everyone. And we're so